All right, so the first section of our literature review that we're going to write is going to be our introduction, context, and background sections. Right, and so this really forms one section, but it has three little subsections already in it. Right, and so the first one is going to be the introduction. Right, this is going to be about one paragraph in length. And it's really just going to do exactly what it says. We're just going to introduce what we're doing, and we are going to then also create our purpose for the literature review, right? So the purpose is going to be to review the literature in this area. Okay. Next, we're going to go into the context. Right? And in context, what we're talking about primarily here is epidemiology data. Right? For us, we're talking about injuries or problems. So what we need to do is go back then to our map here that looks at the larger context of our study. This was from our concept map assignment that we did last time. And we need to look through here and see, okay, if I had to describe in this what the biggest problem and issue that I'm trying to face is, and biggest meaning most wide-ranging. Right, that's the purpose of context. What is the most wide-ranging problem we're going to fix? In this case, I think we're going to be talking about head injuries, right? And so you can see there's a few subsections down here as well. We will get to those later. But first, so we've got head injuries. Now, we come back here. Now we need to create an outline for head injuries, right? So if I have head injuries as my main outline topic, now I've got to think about this. I'm always going to look at the big two for this, and it's going to be money and number, right? There's nothing that says something is a bigger problem more than the amount of money that we spend managing it and the number of cases with that. So we need a couple of paragraphs that describe the number and money spent with head injuries. Now, in that, you may need to define the different types of head injuries. If we go back here, right, we have traumatic injuries that we were talking about, neurological injuries, brain performance aspects. Obviously, we are most worried about traumatic injuries, so we may need to talk about these just to differentiate that we are focusing on traumatic injuries here. Your favorite saying in writing your literature review is that a topic is outside the scope of this review. So when we're looking at this, we might describe head injuries with regards to brain performance injuries, right, with different injuries associated with that, like cognitive disabilities with that, neurological injuries that might be from like different conditions as well, and then obviously traumatic injuries. And even if we went further, right, we would have mild traumatic brain injury, right, and traumatic brain injury that would go under there, right? So we probably need to talk about both of these as well, and then focus more on mild traumatic brain injuries with there. But we need to know what is the prevalence of traumatic head injuries, right? So that way we can justify that this is in fact a problem that needs to be solved. After that then goes to background. Now this is going to be very different from each one. Right? In background now, we need to talk about any history that's important. Right? The history of traumatic brain injury with this obviously has all sorts of different components that have gone through there. This is not science or theory. These are just major things that have occurred. So in this case, right, we might talk about how there have been position statements, right, international conferences, or different things like that that are trying to describe this historically difficult concept. But you're looking for a history background. So look for different articles that talk about the history of your injury. Then create an outline from that that gives us the history associated with that. The idea here is we are starting very broad, right? When we look at our pyramid, right, we start up here with context and background, right? And then we will move closer down towards our actual things with theories, different components. But right now we need to establish that, one, this is a problem, and two, what sort of information do I need to know, right? Within this background, also, if you're looking at different things, this might be a time for a lot of definitions, right, as well, that come in there somewhere, right? What sort of definitions are we going in there? What is some of the concepts, right? Not analyzing them, but just defining them. So at the end of this, we probably should have, I don't know, maybe about a page of context and maybe 2 to 3 pages of background information. Right? And that's a complete guess. It will really depend on your outline. As always, make your outline, but these are what you're focusing on. Epidemiology data, like what is the prevalence of that, right? Of whatever you're dealing with. Look for money and number studies. For the background, what is the history? What do I need to know about when I am analyzing the data and the theories that you're going to present later? Right? So as you go through this, it's always a good idea to outline first if you need help making your outline, or you would like somebody to review your outline. Work with your classmates. You can work with me, work with your instructor, work with your committee chairperson to create an outline to make sure you're not missing major things that need to be focused on. All right? And we'll move on to the next one after this.